The saga of Ozzy Osbourne is one etched in the annals of rock history, but every legend has its genesis, a starting point from which greatness emerges. Ozzy Osbourne's story begins not in grandeur, but in the gritty, working-class streets of Aston, Birmingham, a landscape of factories and row houses where the echoes of industry resonated through every corner. This was a world far removed from the glitz and glamour of rock stardom, a world that would profoundly shape the music that Ozzy would create. School was a challenge. Struggling with dyslexia and the looming prospect of factory life, the path seemed predetermined, a life of labour and toil. The factories offered a steady paycheck, but at the cost of dreams and aspirations. Young John Michael Osbourne found his escape in rock and roll, immersing himself in the sounds that pulsed with rebellion and freedom. Inspired by the Beatles, their music ignited a spark, a vision of a different life, a life beyond the factory walls. He was drawn to the heavier, darker sounds, the raw energy that mirrored the intensity of his own emotions. Emerging from his industrial surroundings, the clang and clatter of the factories became a strange symphony, fueling his artistic fire. Determined to break free, to forge his own destiny, he posted a simple ad, "Ozzy Zig needs gig," a desperate plea, a beacon in the fog of uncertainty. That ad led him to Tony Iommi, a guitarist with a sound as unique as his own story, Geezer Butler, the bassist whose dark lyrics would become synonymous with the band's identity, and Bill Ward, the drummer who provided the thunderous backbone to their sound. Together they formed Black Sabbath, a name that would soon send shivers down the spines of the establishment. Iommi's unique guitar sound, a product of both talent and necessity, born from an industrial accident, a cruel twist of fate that inadvertently shaped the future of heavy metal, gave their music a menacing edge, a sound that was both terrifying and captivating. Their debut album, a collection of songs that explored the darker side of humanity, released on Friday the 13th, 1970, a date that would forever be etched in the history of rock and roll, was a seismic event, a cultural shift that resonated with a generation hungry for something new and rebellious. Laying the foundation for heavy metal, a genre that would go on to inspire countless bands and musicians. Ozzy's haunting vocals became the voice of a lost generation, a generation grappling with uncertainty and disillusionment. And Black Sabbath's rise was meteoric, catapulting them to international fame and notoriety. But the darkness they channeled on stage, the themes of despair and apocalypse, began to consume them off stage, blurring the lines between performance and reality. Setting the stage for chaos, internal conflicts and personal demons threatened to tear the band apart. Fame brought excess, and for Ozzy, the party became a prison. Addiction eroded his health and fractured the band's unity. Recording sessions turned tense. Ozzy's unreliability strained every relationship. The creative spark faded, replaced by frustration and disappointment. During the making of Never Say Die, the band reached a breaking point. In 1979, Black Sabbath made the painful decision to fire Ozzy. Cast out from his musical family, Ozzy spiraled into depression and substance abuse. Alone in a Los Angeles hotel, he seemed destined to become another rock and roll casualty. The Prince of Darkness had lost his band, his purpose, and himself. It looked like the end of the road. Just as Ozzy hit rock bottom, Sharon Arden stepped in. She saw past the chaos to the talent beneath, refusing to let his story end in obscurity. Defying her father and the industry, Sharon became Ozzy's manager and lifeline. She paid his debts, pulled him from isolation, and began rebuilding his career. Sharon's belief was unwavering. She knew Ozzy needed a new band and a fresh start. She organized auditions, searching for musicians who could help him reinvent himself. The industry doubted, but Sharon's determination never wavered. She shielded Ozzy from negative influences and handled every detail of his comeback. While Ozzy fought his demons, Sharon fought for his future. Her intervention marked the turning point from downfall to redemption. Sharon's search for a guitarist led to countless auditions until Randy Rhoads appeared. Randy, a classically trained guitarist from Quiet Riot, was reluctant to audition. Ozzy, exhausted and skeptical, nearly dismissed him, But when Randy played, his fusion of classical technique and metal power electrified the room. Ozzy was instantly captivated. He'd found his musical soulmate. Before Randy finished warming up, Ozzy offered him the gig. The connection was immediate and profound. For the first time since Sabbath, Ozzy felt hope and excitement for the future. Randy's arrival was the catalyst for a new era. Together they would launch the Blizzard of Oz. The Prince of Darkness had found his muse. The comeback was on. Ozzy and Randy's chemistry was explosive chaos met discipline, and magic happened. Randy's classically influenced guitar work elevated Ozzy's vocals to new heights. Their collaboration birthed filled with complex arrangements and unforgettable melodies. Songs like Crazy Train and I Don't Know showcased their dynamic partnership. Randy's guitar became a second voice, weaving intricate layers into every track. The album's success re-established Ozzy as a solo force, with Randy hailed as a guitar hero. Their partnership gave Ozzy confidence and a new identity beyond Sabbath. A deep friendship grew. Randy grounded Ozzy, and Ozzy inspired Randy. Together, they created a period of creativity and happiness Ozzy hadn't known in years. It was a golden era, brief but brilliant. Their momentum soared with ambitious, intricate, and daring. Randy pushed boundaries, blending classical arpeggios with heavy metal. Tracks like Over the Mountain and the epic title song showcased their peak. The band, now a tight unit, delivered explosive performances to sold-out arenas. But the relentless pace wore on Randy, who dreamed of studying classical guitar. He felt he'd fulfilled his commitment and yearned for a new chapter. Despite underlying tension, the tour was a massive success. On stage, Ozzy and Randy's chemistry was electric. They seemed unstoppable, with a limitless future ahead. No one could have foreseen the tragedy looming just beyond their greatest triumph. The precipice was near. March 19th, 1982, a seemingly ordinary day, bathed in the warm Florida sunshine. Little did anyone know this date would be forever etched in rock and roll history, not for celebration, but for profound loss. Tragedy struck, casting a dark shadow over the vibrant music scene. The skies themselves seemed to weep as news began to spread. During a tour stop in Florida, a place usually associated with sunshine and good times, the unthinkable happened. The band was in the midst of a successful run, unaware of the impending disaster. The band's bus driver, in a moment of inexplicable recklessness, took a small plane for a joyride, a decision that would have devastating consequences. Randy Rhoads, the guitar virtuoso, despite his well-known fear of flying, a phobia he often discussed, joined for a quick flight, perhaps seeking to conquer his anxiety or simply caught up in the moment. The pilot, in a display of poor judgment, buzzed the tour bus, a maneuver that was both dangerous and ill-advised. But on the third pass, pushing the limits of safety, disaster struck with terrifying speed. The plane clipped the bus, a sickening crunch of metal against metal, crashed violently into the ground and exploded in a ball of fire, a scene of unimaginable horror. Killing Randy Rhoads, the pilot, and a crew member instantly, their lives extinguished in a flash. Ozzy awoke to devastation, the world around him shattered, his reality forever altered. Losing not just his incredibly talented guitarist, a musical genius in his own right, but a close friend, someone he had come to rely on both on and off the stage. The loss was shattering, a blow that resonated through the entire music community. A partnership forged in music, a friendship built on mutual respect and shared dreams, and an era ended in seconds, leaving behind a void that could never truly be filled. Randy was just 25 years old, a young man with so much life ahead of him, his potential tragically unrealized, his musical journey cut short far too soon. For Ozzy, the tragedy was a devastating blow, a moment that would forever haunt him, threatened to undo all he'd rebuilt, sending him spiraling back into the darkness he had fought so hard to escape. The music stopped abruptly, the vibrant energy of the stage replaced by an eerie stillness, and the silence was overwhelming, a heavy blanket of grief smothering all hope. The dream had become a nightmare, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the cruel hand of fate. Randy's death, a sudden and devastating blow, plunged Ozzy, already battling his own demons, into grief deeper than ever before. The loss of his friend and musical soulmate was almost unbearable. The tour was cancelled, the music stopped. Ozzy questioned if he could go on, if he even wanted to. The future seemed bleak, overshadowed by immense sorrow. Sharon, once again his anchor, his unwavering support, encouraged him to honor Randy's legacy through music, to channel his pain into something beautiful and lasting. A live album, a testament to their collaboration, was released to celebrate Randy's talent, ensuring his virtuosity would never be forgotten. Ozzy hired new guitarists, searching for someone who could fill even a fraction of the void, but replacing Randy was impossible. His unique sound and irreplaceable presence, his spirit lingered in every note, a constant reminder of what had been lost. Jake E. Lee brought his own style, a different energy to the stage, helping Ozzy move forward without erasing the past, honoring Randy while forging a new path. Continuing to perform became Ozzy's therapy, a way to cope with the pain and keep going, a way to keep Randy's memory alive, not just for himself, but for the fans who loved him. The tragedy changed Ozzy, leaving an indelible mark on his soul, adding depth and maturity to his persona, forcing him to confront his own mortality. He learned to survive not just as a rock star shielded by fame and excess, but as a human being facing loss, grappling with grief and finding strength in vulnerability. Carrying On became his tribute to a fallen friend, a promise to keep the music alive, and a testament to the enduring power of friendship. Randy's death was Ozzy's greatest tragedy, but also the crucible of his resilience. Instead of fading away, Ozzy transformed grief into music, honoring his friend's memory. The partnership with Randy showed the power of collaboration and friendship. Ozzy's story became one of survival, overcoming addiction, loss, and despair. He rebuilt his legacy with new guitarists, but Randy's influence remained. Ozzy's journey teaches us that even in darkness, hope and creativity can endure. Honoring the past means living fully in the present. The music they made together echoes through generations. Ozzy Osbourne, forever the Prince of Darkness, became the ultimate survivor. Even after the crash, the music, and the spirit, lives on.